Maxey from outside. Sixers lead, courtesy of Tyrese Maxey.
Deep to left field, going back is LoCastro. It is gone!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Your host, Ryan Coyle, continuing on today with our college football preview series. 18 days away from recording this, we will have kickoff between Florida State and Georgia Tech to start off the season. We're getting there. We're getting close. Two weeks from Saturday, we will have kickoff. So getting closer and closer. And been hitting on a lot of the, premier teams that are going to be expected to compete for college football playoff berths. But I'm also trying to hit on some big brands that maybe not this year they'll have a great year, but they're looking to get back into kind of the national picture. And I feel like this is one of those teams that's probably in the top 4 to 5 of a national brand that is kind of behind right now. And they're looking to kind of restore their greatness and, like I said, get back into the national picture, compete for these college football playoff berths, and compete for national championships and SEC championships. And that's the Auburn Tigers. And I think this is a program that has a lot of momentum. They've been doing really well on the recruiting trail recently. So I think 2024 could kind of be like a springboard year. Last year in year one under Hugh Freeze, only went 6-7, went to a bowl game. We'll get into all that and more. But I think 2024, if they're able to go 8-4, maybe even like a 9-3, this could be a team that is setting up and building for a double-digit win season in the 2025 season. So going into year 2 under Hugh Freeze, I'm looking at this as like a springboard type of season and something really to kind of hang your hat on and build on before you go into the next wave of Auburn football and get back to competing for SEC titles and SEC championships, college football playoff berths, etc. So last year, head coach Hugh Freeze, year 1 at Auburn, after his off-the-field issues or whatever happened, not get into all that at Ole Miss, lost him his job there. He goes to Liberty. He turns them into, a group of high power. He makes them into an awesome program for the situation that is, Liberty football, not an SEC school or something like that. And he gets his second chance at a major opportunity at Auburn. 6-7 in year 1. He's 89-50 in his 11 years as a college head coach. When we look back at year 1 on Hugh Freeze in 2023 last year, 6-7, 3-5 in the SEC, lost their bowl game to Maryland 31-13. But this could have been an 8-win team easily last year. They lost 31-10 to New Mexico State at home. That was just like a what the hell happened. One of the more, even though Auburn wasn't a dominant squad last year, that was the second to last game of the year. That was one of the more like polarizing, puzzling kind of results in all of college football last year. It doesn't matter if Auburn was a 2-win team last year. New Mexico State should still never go to Auburn. That one is just like a major fluke and something that definitely can't happen again when looking at their schedule going forward. They can't take a team like that lightly the week before the Iron Bowl. But they do that, and then they go the next week to play Bama, and they had it all but done. All they needed to do, 4th and I think 31 it was, just don't let Alabama score a touchdown. And miracle play from Jalen Milroe, touchdown at the end to Isaiah Bond, and Auburn loses that game at the end. So losing those two to end the year, and then in the regular season, then you go and lose the bowl game, that's a little bit disappointing and a little bit of not a red flag, but, it could have been a lot more encouraging heading into year 2. And as we said, they finished 6-7 on the year. You win that Bama game if you just close it out like you're supposed to, and you don't let New Mexico State come to your house. You're winning at least 8 games there. And I think the bowl game could kind of be chalked up to, like, after that Alabama game, how much did people really want to be there at the end of that? Like, that's kind of a gut-wrenching way to end your regular season, at least, especially against your biggest rival. And if Alabama doesn't win that game, they don't go to the college football playoff themselves. So a little bit of a disappointing end to the year there. But even if they were able to kind of go win the bowl game, maybe redirect some of the momentum. But it was a little bit of, bottoming out towards the end of the season there, losing that bowl game to a subpar kind of Maryland team. But it could have definitely been an 8-9 win team when you look at them at the end of the day. But I do think the arrow is certainly pointing up for this Auburn program. I know it's kind of contradicting what I said about how they lost the last 3 games, but I definitely think the trajectory of this program is up, barring those results. It was a very up and down year. Saw them start out 3-0, then they lose 4 in a row, win 3 in a row, and then they lose 3 in a row to end the season. So I think consistency is obviously the theme of what needs to change this year for Auburn and going forward. The offense outside of the rushing attack, which was 23rd in the country last year, struggled to be super consistent. And against teams not named UMass and Samford, they only scored 30-plus points twice last year. So offense that's going to need to get more explosive. Hugh Freeze, an offensive guy, we'll like to see him, kind of increase this offensive production, and I definitely expect that in year 2 here at Auburn. Defense was a stronger unit for this squad last year. By far over the offense, ranked top 45 in scoring defense, total defense, passing defense. They were only 1-3 in one-score games, though, too. So that's another thing where even if they flip one of those results and they're 2-2 in those one-score games, along with closing out that Alabama game and winning against New Mexico State, there was a path to 8, 9, who knows, even 10 wins last year. And if you said you were even getting to 8 or 9 wins and you're running under Hugh Freeze, I'm pretty sure the Auburn fans would have been happy. So do you think the arrow is pointed up? We'll get into the preview for this season, though. Offense, defense, and then my schedule prediction. When you look at the offense for this year's Auburn squad, returned 6 starters as well as quarterback Peyton Thorne for an Auburn offense that we talked about wasn't exactly electric last year. They were really average across the boards in terms of scoring. They ranked 71st with 26.2 points per game. Their rush offense, though, was really strong. Look for that to be a strong suit again this year. One of the best in the country, average 189 yards per game on the ground, which was 23rd in the FBS. Tigers do bring in a new offensive coordinator this year in Derek Nix. They're hoping that he revamps this passing game and gives the offense some more explosive play ability. I believe he came over from Ole Miss. Thorne at quarterback, Peyton Thorne, he's expected to be the starter. If he struggles out of the gate, they have a young guy, a freshman, high priority recruit that could push him. But I do expect him to at least start the year at quarterback, and I expect him to be better in year 2 under Freeze. Only had 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year, so he needs to be better in this year to revamp that and ignite kind of that passing game. But the running game should be a strong suit of this team again. Jarquez Hunter returns at the starting running back spot. He has over 2,000 career rushing yards and 17 touchdowns, and they have a few other talented rushers in the wings. And Thorne, while he's not really, I think, thought of or known as an athletic quarterback, he had rushed for over 700 yards last year. I think I saw the final number because of net yards after being sacked was around like 550, but a guy that can use his legs as well. So him along with Hunter and some other young running backs in the wings, it could be a really good rushing offense again. The passing game, though, needs to step up if this offense is going to take that kind of next step. And they have a lot of new faces to mix in to this offense this year. No pass catcher returns from last year's team that had more than 10 receptions. So a lot of new guys, a lot of new opportunity for catches and balls for this Auburn team, and yards and touchdowns are to be made up for. So Auburn is really trying to usher in a new deep receiving room. It seems like that is a priority position that they've targeted. Freeze revamped that receiver room. He brought in 2 5-star recruits in Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson. Expect those guys to be, immediate day one contributors, have big roles right away. And transfer wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, a former Penn State guy, look for him to have a role too. And then Rivaldo Fairweather is a guy that I've been reading up on and hearing about, a really, high-profile tight end that should be one of the top 5 to 10 tight ends in the country this year. He's going to have a big role in that offense as well. We go to the defensive side of the ball, which I think was a stronger unit last year than the offense, but they were kind of middle of the pack last year. Really strong against the pass, just like the offense was really strong against the strong rushing the ball. The defense was really strong against the pass. They ranked 31st in the country at 202.2 yards per game, bringing a new defensive coordinator there as well, and DJ Durkin from Texas A&M. I think he's looking to take this group from, more of an average group and have them step up and be one of these top groups, elite groups in the SEC. That's the expectations at Auburn from that fan base, to have this team, both offense and defense, being well enough, balanced enough to compete with the likes of Alabama, Georgia, and now you throw in teams like Texas, Oklahoma. Ole Miss is up there as well in the conversation now. Tennessee too, LSU. I mean, the list goes on, but Auburn expects to be closer to that top tier than closer to the bottom tier of a South Carolina, a Vanderbilt, and Arkansas for the time being as well. So DJ Durkin is being tasked with elevating this defense. Defense only brings back 5 starters from last year, but they do have some talent across the board. Kendrick Fault is the name to know on the defensive line alongside Jason Jones and Zykevius Walker. Those are 3 key guys in the trenches for this team. They also brought in transfers on this defense from Texas, Kansas, Indiana, and USC to help out the unit. So they're plucking guys from every which way of the country, power forward players, though, that are going to be immediate contributors. The middle of the defense should be the strength of this team as they return 3 starters at the linebacker spot in Austin Keys, Jalen McLeod, and Eugene Asante. So look for the middle of this defense to be the strong suit and be a good tackling team. I think that's something that this Auburn team is going to be able to pride themselves on. I am worried about the secondary, though, which was arguably the strength of the entire team last year. They lost a lot, but they have 2-year starter Keontae Scott, as well as Texas transfer Jaron Thompson, who's a former 4-star player on the back end. Those are guys that have played a lot of football before. Expect them to be, the main 2 kind of guys playing there at corner and safety in the secondary. When you look at the defense from last year, though, they held their opponents to 20 or less in 6 games last year. They were 6-0 in those games, a team that went 6-7. So when that defense played well, the offense was good enough to get them kind of over that 20-point threshold. In football, college football these days, it's not really realistic to be, a super dynamic elite defense each and every single week. You're going to have to win some games in shootouts, but the offense showed that if the defense does their job and holds their own, which they held their opponents to 20 or less in 6 games last year, the offense was good enough to get them over that threshold of 21 points and win the football game. So if the defense can continue to grow and do their part, and I think take a step this year under Durkin, it should be a strong year for an Auburn team that I'm not saying, expect a playoff berth, but I'm saying expect this team to compete and potentially surprise some teams. One thing that I really took away from SEC Media Day and just all the podcasts listened to about it, all the TikTok, Instagram clips, all the articles I read, so many people just organically talked about Auburn and having to go play there and how tough it is. Like Georgia went there last year and it came down to the very end and Auburn just pulled it out. Like, it's no easy cupcake going in there. So I expect Auburn to be a team that maybe knocks off a team or 2 this year that they're not expecting, but then they can't have a game like they did last year where they lose to New Mexico State 31-10 at home. So going to be an interesting squad to track. Like I said, I think this is going to be like a springboard type of year. And going forward, Auburn, I think, is back in that conversation of, 10-plus wins a season competing for college football playoff berths. But this year we'll get into my entire schedule breakdown and schedule prediction for this Auburn team. Go through it game by game. I have them obviously winning the week 1 game against Alabama A&M. I know I shouldn't say obvious after the New Mexico State came up from last year, but New Mexico State was a good team. I think they won like 9-3 or so last year, but still, that's a game. Auburn, as a program, prides itself on never losing those type of games. But win that game. The Cal game should be a good one. Cal is going to be an interesting team in the ACC. I think they're like a 6-7 win team-ish, but going to Auburn, I don't see them winning that game. But that's an interesting kind of week 2 matchup between 2 squads that Auburn's trying to be on the rise, and Cal, going to the ACC, a new look team there. What can they make of themselves? But I will have Auburn winning that game. I have Auburn also beating New Mexico there, getting revenge on a team from New Mexico in that one. Arkansas coming to Auburn. I will have Auburn winning that game. Then I believe I also have them winning. Yeah, I have them winning this game as well against Oklahoma. So I have this Auburn team starting out 5-0. So from here on, you only need 1 win to be bowl eligible the rest of the way. Just got to find one. But I like we've been talking about, I think Auburn's expecting to be more of a 8-win team this year, 7-win team, something like that. At least show some more growth, some more increased trajectory for this program going forward. Now it starts to get, a little bit tougher. You go to Georgia, we're going to chalk that up as a loss. Going to Missouri, going to chalk that up as a loss. And going to Kentucky, chalk that up as a loss. So 5-0 start, but you get 3 games against Georgia and Missouri, who I'll probably have both of those as playoff teams. And Kentucky, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, somewhere in that ballpark probably. That's 3 tough games in a row. So I have Auburn starting out 5-0. Then they get to a quick 5-3. They haven't beating Vandy, haven't beating ULM, so there they are. They're already at 7-3, already topping last year's win total. Then Texas A&M, that's going to be a tough one, but I do have Auburn winning that game. Texas A&M going to Auburn, I think equal kind of talent, equal playing field there. But Auburn gets a home field advantage. Give me them in that one. And then going to Alabama, potential revenge spot from last year after letting that game slip through at home. But I will go with Alabama there. So at the end of the day, Auburn going 8-4. Have a bunch of games at home, though. I kind of just noticed that going through the schedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 8 games, 8 of their 12 games at home this year. So definitely a good situation to be in, I would say. And I have them going 8-4, winning all 8 of those home games. So kind of simple as that. Really tough home field advantage. I have them going at 8-4, winning their home games, losing the games that they'll probably be all dogs in at Kentucky, at Georgia, at Alabama, and at Mizzou. But I think if Auburn gets to 8-4 this year, and as I said, they've been killing on the recruiting trail, the arrow is certainly going to be continued pointing up, and Hugh Freeze and company are going to be happy down there in Alabama. So that'll do it for this episode of the Beef Up Front podcast. Keeping it rolling here. Next episode, as part of the preview, will be another SEC team that wears orange as well. So make sure to tune in for that one. As always, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we will talk soon.